Live from the ABC 27 Digital Now Center, this is your local election headquarters.
Good evening, everyone. I'm James Crummell. Welcome here to ABC27.com for our post-debate analysis. You just watched an hour of the Republican candidates for Pennsylvania governor go at it. And joining me right now, Republican analyst Christopher Nicholas is here. Christopher, thank you so much for joining me tonight. So let's just get right into it. The first question for you, who came out on top on this?
Well, you had the four front runners in the Republican primary for governor here. There are 9 overall. These were the 4 that polled the top, at the topmost, and they left it all on the debate stage. James, they threw some punches. They took some punches. It was very clear from the start that each of them had a specific strategy. Strategery, as Bugs Bunny would say, and going after the primary voters during this debate. In a poll my firm, Equal Consulting Group, did a couple weeks ago, we had 45% of Republican primary voters undecided about this race, even after all the spending and all the campaigning these folks. So these guys know that. They know they have to find those undecided voters who are kind of like planes circling the runway. Mm-hmm. At some point, Republican primary voters have to figure out who they're voting for on May 17th.
So as you said, 9 candidates overall. We had 4 on the debate stage tonight.
Yes.
45% undecided. Do you think tonight makes a difference?
I do. I said earlier in the pregame show, thanks for having me on that as well as the postgame show, James.
We love you around here.
Thank you. That with 9 candidates, there should be a flavor for everybody, right? Sometimes with 1 or 2 candidates, you think, oh boy, my important issues aren't being validated by one of the candidates. But boy, with 9. And the other 5 debated last week, and there'll be more joint appearances. So hopefully people will say, after looking at all 9, 8 men and 1 woman, that XYZ candidate is the one that speaks most to me. And you'll have some primary voters going on ideology. You'll have some going on a specific issue, and you'll have a smaller group going on who they think can win in November and beat the Democratic nominee, Attorney General Josh Shapiro, who does not have opposition in his primary.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Was there someone on that stage tonight that you think rose to the occasion, and do you think there was someone who maybe fell a little short?
Well, the one thing I did notice is that Senator Doug Mastriano, who represents Franklin Adams and part of Cumberland County, he spoke very fast during the debate. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's his normal style. I haven't been around him enough. But sometimes when you talk that fast, it's tough for people at home to kind of follow along.
Yeah.
I thought Bill McSwain had a very lawyerly-like approach, which is not surprising. He's the former U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District and a practicing attorney for his whole life. I think Dave White kind of spoke like the everyman he is. He was the one up there who does not have a college degree and build up his own business. And Lou Barletta has been around for a long time as mayor of Hazleton, a member of Congress, ran for Senate in 2018 now this. So he has the easy cadence of someone who is used to being on a stage, on a platform, being asked questions by people. So I think if you're any of the 4 camps, leaving, driving home tonight to wherever they're going, they would all be pleased that their candidate did what they set out to do. So it's one thing for me to say candidate X did this and candidate Y did that. Again, I'm sometimes too close to this because it's what I do for a living, being a GOP political consultant. So it's what the people at home think. And again, are they looking for someone that they're comfortable with, someone that's in their ideological lane, or someone who is more attuned to what they think will be the best candidate in November? Because remember, there are about 550,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans in Pennsylvania, James. So we start out kind of behind the 8 ball.
When you're talking about being very close to something like this, and I'm watching this as being a viewer, and I think I could pick up on what the strategies were for each of these men. It seems like they had like one main characteristic that they were trying to drill home. Like I think for Dave White, it seemed like he was focusing on being a blue collar worker. And I think for McSwain, he was saying he was touting himself as the outsider.
Well, remember the very first question, Bill McSwain took 20 seconds of his time to not answer the question, but to lay out his themes, that he's a conservative outsider who's never held office before. So he did it right from the get-go. The others took a little bit more time to get into it because they were focused more on the questions at hand. And that is a big question in debates as a candidate. Do you spend your time pretty much answering the questions to you, or do you say, I'll glance at them and then talk to the voters about what I want to talk about? Because obviously journalists have one set of questions they want to ask, and candidates, that might not really overlap with what the candidates actually, want to talk about. So, but I think with the 3 debates you folks have done here so well, the Senate Democrats, Senate Republicans, and now gubernatorial Republicans, you've given people statewide an easy way, primetime TV live, streamed in places that don't have TV coverage from here, that you've really given them a chance to educate themselves. So come May 17th, regardless of what primary you're voting in, please don't say, oh, I don't know enough about these candidates, because between these debates you sponsored, the ads that run all the time on your stations, on all these stations, you have to be under a rock to not be learning about these candidates. Now, there are a lot of them, okay, but still, so get to do your homework, folks.
Let me pick your brain on one more topic here, because this is something that kind of stood out to me. You have Lou Barletta, Doug Mastriano. They are at the top of our polls. And then you have Bill McSwain, and you could tell he was going after Lou Barletta. And usually in a primary, we've seen a lot of times the outsider being the one that gains the momentum, trying to take down the establishment. Well, here you have Lou Barletta kind of being in that role as the establishment.
What was interesting in the poll that you took and in the poll that my firm did is that the top 2 folks were Doug Mastriano and Lou Barletta, and they had not run any ads since then. And Lou Barletta picked up on that and said he hasn't run any ads yet. They literally were starting today, he said. So it's very interesting that those 2, I wouldn't say are resting on their laurels, but they have built up name ID from what they've done before. Dave White and Bill McSwain pretty much started off at 0, so they've had to kind of build their way up. And interestingly, in the poll we took, was taken just a couple days before President Trump unendorsed McSwain, I guess the way to say it. And McSwain had surged into second place. He was ahead of Barletta in our poll. So I'm curious to see, the fallout from that, all of these debates they've had, where the movement is. Because in a 9-person race, sometimes if I attack you, another candidate benefits, right?
Yeah.
Candidate A attacks candidate B, and the other candidates pick up votes. So that's why I find it interesting that McSwain is running an ad right now attacking all of the 3 other candidates on that podium with him, on the stage with him. And we saw it again tonight, right? He was going right after those other 3 from the get-go, all for different reasons.
Right. And something else that happened in this debate, which I found interesting, you had Doug Mastriano. He was up there on the stage, and he endorsed Kathy Barnett, who we saw on the stage a couple of days ago, who's running for Senate.
It was interesting that they did this kind of cross office endorsement, which is just kind of an interesting way to do things.
Yeah. Again, Christopher, I could talk with you about this stuff all night, and we are going to be talking even more.
Sunday at 10 o'clock this week in Pennsylvania. You're filling in this week for Dennis Owens, who has a deserved day off after co-hosting all these. So we'll talk about that more, right?
Christopher, you are a man of television because you know the segue, you know the art of the tease and the promoting. Yes, this week in Pennsylvania, we're going to have that this weekend, and we're going to be talking all about this debate. We're going to talk about the debate from Monday as well. All of that coming up on this week. Christopher, thank you for being with me here tonight, and thank you for joining us here for our post-debate analysis. Have a great night.
Thanks, James.